Hey everybody, what's up? Today we're going all in. MagnaCut, the stainless steel that redefines what a knife can actually be. Born from the mind of Dr. Lauren Thomas himself, it combines insane toughness, edge retention, and true stainless steel performance. Something knife makers are always chasing after. But I'm not just making one knife here though. I'm building an entire kitchen set from this super steel. A chef knife, cleaver, bread slicer, pairing the whole arsenal. Each one will be precision crafted, that's razor sharp, ridiculously durable, and ready to dominate anything from crusty bread to the toughest vegetables. Now, this isn't just about making knives, it's about making forever knives. The kind that you would pass down to your kids, still sharp, unbreakable, and beautiful forever. So let's turn this steel into some serious legends. As you can see, I have this nice little bar stock in my clamp here, and we're going to start cutting that into little tiny pieces, or, the profiles of all the knives that are going to be in this set. So as you can see, I'm kind of going to town here with the angle grinder, and that really just gets me the rough, profile shape, I guess, of each blade after I've already designed them. But where I really kind of finish off the profiles is on the belt grinder, and that 2x72, it's the workhorse of the shop. And yep, this is going to be the process for pretty much any stock removal knife, or how to start doing it anyway. I also use a plasma cutter to cut out profiles occasionally too, depending on the blade and the workload. Now that these really just sweet profiles are cut out, it's time for heat treatment. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what 2000 degrees looks like, glowing yellow. And let me tell you, it is hot. By doing this, we are bringing those molecules, locking them tight together. And we're going to bring the 2000 degrees down to -90 here in an alcohol and dry ice slurry. This is going to reduce the austenite and increase the martensite inside the metal, thus making it just that much harder. Some of the knives came out of that quench and heat treatment pretty warped. This bread knife looked like a banana when it came out, so I'm using a carbide tip straightening hammer that I had fashioned, and we'll straighten it out no problem. Random side note of the video, here I am experimenting with forged carbon fiber, and the reason that I'm doing that is because the customer had requested that look with a red background. And so here I am putting in alcohol ink, mica powder, and I'm layering on these carbon fiber pieces in order to get more depth to it. So when I grind it away later, I can actually fine tune that look. So I mixed about 30 or 40 of these little containers up of this resin, and every time it's just so pretty. Look at the depth in that. I absolutely love how this color turned out. The mica powder and the alcohol ink combined is definitely a look. And then to layer in these carbon fiber pieces, it just really set everything off. So as far as the build was concerned, this is actually the part that took the longest, because I had to make so many of these scales and I only had one mold. In hindsight, I should have gotten another mold. It would have saved so much time. However, I just worked with what I had. And after the resin was poured, I put it in this vacuum chamber and gassed it out. What that does is pull the air out from inside of the resin. And that's step one in this process. Step two is firing up this lighter and then kind of dialing it back a little bit so that it just heats really well, turning it more into a really fine heat gun. And what that's going to do is bring the bubbles that are on the surface and just pop them all, making it a much cleaner set of scales. Yeah, also to note, you'll see that I don't have any real carbon fiber just sitting on top, and that's so that I can actually get and see those bubbles on top to pop. But yeah, it is also going to be the inside of the knife, so these resin scales will glue nice and flush to the blade itself. It was about this time in my life where I got a call from Tesla. They wanted me to come on as a mechanic and work for them, and I thought about it, I really did, and I just love what I do now. So I'm going to stick with this for a little while. It also allows me to stay home with my children and help be a good dad. So, yep, we're going to stick with this for now. And if something comes up or arises in the future, you might find me at Tesla. You never know. For now, let's introduce you to this kitchen knife set. This is the bread knife, or it will be, followed by the cleaver. This is going to be the knife of choice for splitting watermelons and bones alike. Next is going to be the kitchen utility knife. Now this is like a small chef knife for pretty much any task in the kitchen you want. Now this paring knife is a little bit more specialized for those fine tasks. I've also included this large boning / carving knife for those turkeys and hams. At the end of the day, the chef knife is the king of the kitchen, and this one is awesome. Now they're ready for hand sanding, and this part took weeks. Now, if you're not familiar with it, MagnaCut stainless steel is extremely wear resistant, so it just destroyed sandpaper. But at the end of those weeks, a little bit of perseverance and a lot of elbow grease, I was pretty happy with the results. There are many ways to put serrations on a knife. This is my method of choosing for bread knives. By doing it this way, I'm able to really get these nice, flowy, wavy serrations, and I found they're just fantastic for slicing through bread. Let me know in the comments if there's any bladesmiths out there how you guys do your serrations. I know everybody's got their own way of doing things, so yeah, I'm interested. Speaking of way of doing things, I've got a little assembly line work here. I'm currently drilling G10 linings and then going to be taping and lining all the holes up onto my resin scales that have been completed, one after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next, forever, until they're ready for glue. I might have had to buy a couple extra clamps for this job. The next day, all of the glue had set and it was ready to start cutting out the big chunks of these scales and starting to get them into the shape of a handle. I didn't really have much trouble with the portaband with regards to cutting through this material. However, I'll show you in just a second. When I was on the 2x72, the carbon fiber flakes inside of these scales just destroy the belts. Pretty interesting. When I'm making the shape for my knife handles, I have this one shape in my mind almost all times. I consider it my signature style, sort of. And I do a lot of that shaping on this 4-inch contact wheel on the grinder here. But yeah, you'll see it's very apparent and uniform in the set when I'm done. And here's one of the belts after the carbon fiber just destroyed it. Nice and smooth. All right, as if I didn't do enough hand sanding already, now we're going to be hand sanding for another week or so with a respirator in the hot Florida sun. Super awesome. At least I have a nice industrial fan blowing on me, but still. I'm going to start at an 80 grit just to kind of get that shape finalized that I couldn't really do as well or accurately on the grinder. So we're really going to just fine tune that here. And then from 80, I'm going to go to, I think, 150, then 220, and then 400, and then 600. And these things are actually going to get polished by machine after that. All right, so there's one done. 5 more to go. The shape's starting to look good, but check out after we clean it up a little bit. Now, this is outside in the shade, but where they really shine is when light hits them. Now check it out as I hold it up against the sun. You can see the depth of the scales themselves, and through those clear acrylic pins, the G10 linings behind the red just really help set everything off. I think these are going to turn out absolutely gorgeous. You may be wondering, why am I holding this scrap piece of pine wood? Well, this is going to become the knife block. I'm going to shape it into a bit of a sculpture first, and then embed some magnets, paint it, and then resin coat the whole thing so it looks really nice and fancy. And that's going to be the stand for all of this set. Here it is, carved with slots for magnets to be embedded as well. When I was carving this thing, I just kind of let my hands do the work and ended up with it. It looks pretty organic to me and flowy and alien-like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. All right, here's the last little step for polishing up these handles and getting rid of any little spots on the surface. I'm using an orbital sander here, but really I'm doing a lot of polishing with it. Here's the first magnet test. I wanted the magnets to be just strong enough to hold them up there without being too grippy and making you have to rip them off each time. And I think I nailed it. Also, check out those acrylic pins with the sunset behind it. So sick. Next, I screwed on a base, and it was time for paint. As you can see, I'm starting with a base coat of black, and what that's going to do is make sure that the resin coat I put on top here is going to actually look really nice and dark underneath as well. I don't know how many layers of resin I put on here and sanded and put on here again and sanded over and over again until I had something that I actually liked. It was very tricky and time consuming and expensive, and I really hope the customer likes it because it was a lot of effort. But at the end of the day, I liked how it turned out, and that's really, half the battle at least. Since then, I've actually seen this stand on the customer's counter in their kitchen, and I am very happy that they seem to like it still. So, woohoo! And here I am going over it with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak, trying to work out any sort of bubbles I see and get this finish on it just nice and smooth and beautiful looking. I think it kind of looked like a grand piano when it was done as far as the finish. But, it's kind of, I'm a little bit biased. At the end of the day, I think it turned out really well as a sculpture that just so happens to hold up all these knives. After that was done, it was time for the finishing touches on the knives, including sharpening. Now, I got some pretty wicked edges on all of these. As far as the video clip here is concerned, though, I could not get the audio to transfer over without getting copyright strikes because this was ripped right from a reel off of Instagram. It had music in the background that would have just let this video not get any views whatsoever. So, anywho, here we are. Obviously, it's super sharp. Every single one of them. That cleaver just popped that paper towel roll in half. Look how clean that cut is. Every single one of them's just as sharp. It's awesome. Here, I'll insert some sound effects. Ready? Look at this guy. Yeah, we get it. They're sharp. And now for the glamour shots. From raw steel to razor sharp perfection, every blade here tells a story. This MagnaCut kitchen set isn't just tough, it's built to last a lifetime, perhaps even two. Every cut is a reminder. When you put in the time, the effort, and a little bit of yourself into your craft, the results speak for themselves. Now, if you enjoyed this journey as much as I enjoyed making these, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next build. Trust me, we're just getting started. See you guys soon.